everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Psyched to be with you. With me, your host, Christopher Leach, aka Chimp195, part of the Blind Psyche network, production, ecosystem, any or all of the above. We are back with another fantastic guest for the second episode of season 4. I'm hype. This is going to be amazing. My very special guest, please introduce yourself. Bring us into your world.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Owen Trett, pronouns he, they. I'm the video editor currently working for Poncle, on the BAFTA award-winning title Vampire Survivors. I do trailers, memes, just a whole bunch of video-related nonsense. I've been in the industry for about, I want to say, almost 3 years now, which is, uh, gosh, a concerning concept for me. I feel like it's going so quickly. Yeah, gosh, that's me. Yeah, that's the top line.
So I mean, we've got a lot we can dig into. We've got a lot to feast on here. Let's go from the top. Video editing. You know, for those that have no idea how these beautiful trailers and things are made, what's that? What's it look like? Where did you start to become one?
Oh gosh, that is a good question. So video editing, I kind of see it as a puzzle. You're given what is essentially a bunch of video clips from a source or some graphics from a illustrator or graphic designer, and you have to, what I like to say, like put it like jigsaw it together into one coherent bit of content. I studied media, and then I did a bachelor's in television production, at Bournemouth, where I kind of fell in love with video editing. I always wanted to work as a video editor for like scripted content, like fantasy shows. I would have loved to have done something like The Witcher or Lord of the Rings or something like that. Because basically what you do is you kind of take footage that's recorded, um you look at like actors' performances, and you piece it all together into one coherent film. It's very exciting. You have a lot of control over what people see, because at the end of the day, what you end up cutting is what people will end up seeing. And that's very much the same for what I do now. So yeah, I capture a bunch of gameplay content, and I jigsaw it together with the help of people at Poncle, whether that's getting a structure together, some text slates, music, whatever, and making a trailer. I know nothing about game development, but um, anyone who is a game dev and does that more technical side, they're all wizards. I have no idea how they do it. I just make them look good.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I do. Yeah, it's great.
And I think so. For me, I sort of have a little bit of an eye behind the curtain. I actually did media, as we would call it, college in the UK. 16 to 18 myself, and that was kind of generally kind of everything. I actually had aspirations of being a film director once upon a time. So I kind of like feel like I have an idea of kind of what goes on, and I think you make a really good point there around the control an editor has. You put together the final piece, and I feel like maybe this is me being too sweeping, but like generally like a lot of production people involved with any type of media creation get not given enough credit. Right, like I mean, I flirt with all my guests. I'm not just flirting with you right now, but like truly, like the amount of extra effort that goes in that people maybe don't know about is kind of always shocking, right? Okay,
Yeah, genuinely.
and we
Oh,
go
sorry,
through
go on.
that. How was like that higher education journey going through that as like because a lot of people kind of see especially creative kind of roles as maybe like, oh, I've got to go out into the industry and into the world instead of higher education.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say I've always been a fan of education. Like I've always had in my mind like I needed time to go to university to really find out what exactly I want to do, because back in college, like I had no idea. There was a while where I wanted to go into acting. For a short period, I wanted to go into like radio, but I feel like university, and this is kind of a topic that's been discussed in length in the kind of Twitter space at the moment. But I think for me anyway, like university is a really good way to just like find out more about yourself and find out more about like what I'm good at and how I collaborate with other people who are trying to also figure out what exactly works for them. So you get to basically try out a bunch of stuff, and I think that really helped me kind of understand like, oh, no, video editing, that's my whole thing. I love university. I think in the creative sector, it's not necessary. You don't necessarily have to go to university, and a lot of people do focus on the fact of experience versus education, especially like going into like TV and media. There is that disconnect between like a student film and something that was actually produced for TV. So there are stories of people who went into TV after college and managed to get like years worth of experience and are basically like mid-level by the time that a university student would graduate. But for me, I think it was a great way to just like build those connections that I still have to this day, and kind of understand more about myself, and figure out that yeah, no, video editing is for me really. uh and like I think I graduated mid COVID, so it was quite a scary time.
Hmm.
And the TV industry was kind of in a position where they weren't hiring a lot because no one really knew what was going on, people were working from home. um so I ended up just looking for any kind of working from home editing work, and that's how I found my first role at Sumo, doing video editing for that games company, really.
Now, not to crack open a broader nut, but bear with me, it is kind of a segue. In my, albeit limited experience, I've kind of found that particularly the games industry maybe undervalues higher education. I found that as someone who's like sat next to people said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm doing a PhD in psychology, like on games," and they've gone, "Oh, so you're a student?" And I'm like, "No, no, I'm not." you know. Do you have any thoughts on that kind of dynamic?
No, 100%. It's a weird disconnect that I really don't understand. Like I remember being in second, third year of uni, and there was always this general rhetoric of like, yeah, when you're going and applying like roles onto your CV or writing cover letters, you always have to come from an almost back-footed stance that, oh, I'm a student, so therefore my content doesn't matter as much, when really I think that that kind of stigma needs to be removed. There are so many talented students, and at the end of the day, you're putting years and years worth of time into improving your skills, that I think, I don't know, a lot of recruiters have this weird separation that like, oh, they're a student, so therefore they're on a lesser level, whereas I've had friends of mine who have done master's degrees. They are the smartest people I know. I have a friend who's been trying to get into the industry for a while, doing audio design, and it really just kind of sucks to say like, yeah, but at the end of the day, like, do you have any um like in industry experience, because that's what people are gonna really care about. And it sucks because they've put like 4 years of their life into education, and at the end of the day, like, there's not really much to show for it. So yeah, I do think university education is incredibly important. I wouldn't have done it if I thought differently. And I think that yeah, that there's just this weird stigma about student like kind of student experience versus like in industry experience that I think needs to be removed. Especially now that like my younger brother actually is currently studying games art at Portsmouth Uni, and it's kind of, it's frustrating that like he's looking for placement stuff for the end of his second year, and he's struggling because again there's this weird kind of disconnect between like in industry experience, and he's genuinely one of the like most talented 3D designers I know. But yeah, just because he's a student, instantly people kind of shrug that off.
Hmm.
It's yeah, it's terrible, really.
Let's bite the big one, because I mean, Vampire Survivors. You said it yourself, BAFTA award winning, one of the funnest games I think anyone could play. Dangerously so at times. It got a shout out at a panel that I did at PAX West in September. Gone when we were talking about comfort games and cozy games, and finding comfort in chaos. And Vampire Survivors came up as like, the game itself is very chaotic, but it plays in such a way that is almost rhythmic and therefore quite comforting. Like, how do you even begin to talk about a game that is that good?
Well, that's it. How do you begin to talk about Vampire Survivors? There's a zeitgeist, I'd say, around Vampire Survivors, and it's weird to I guess have joined the company right in the middle of that zeitgeist. It's interesting actually that you say there's kind of a comfort in that coziness, because I'm currently doing talks about Vampire Survivors, and I use that exact term of not even not just the game having that kind of comfort in coziness, but just the general vibe of Poncle. There is sorry, no, was it comfort in kind of chaoticness. I'd say Poncle is that there is comfort in this kind of chaotic, turbulent way of working. Like for example, I joined, I signed my contract, and then 2 weeks later they won the BAFTA. The week I joined, they said, "Oh, we need you to do content for a Nintendo Direct." Again, this is like the biggest client that I've ever had to work for, which was a terrifying concept, because
Mm.
I'd gone from working with a group of video editors to being the sole video editor, and like everything that I did was solely on my back, which was terrifying considering that the client was Nintendo and they were massive.
I'm gonna
Um,
say I saw that trailer in the direct live and it was smashing.
oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. It was it I learned a lot during that very quick period of time, mostly about independence, but I'd say that's not even the most I'd say turbulent thing that's happened at the company. It seems every week there's something new, like this kind of bombshell that's dropped by Luca that we have to then react to. And it kind of repeats on a weekly basis. And it's chaotic, and a lot of people would kind of struggle to kind of maintain some level of consistency of work. But I found, again, this kind of level of comfort in this chaotic nature.
Hmm.
It's weird to put into words, um, because I love that I wake up for work, and I have no idea what the day is going to be like. Um, like I'm confident in my skills. I know that I'm going to be able to react to it in a way that works, and in a way that's going to end up with a good product. Um, and I wouldn't have it anywhere else, honestly. I couldn't imagine doing the same kind of like the same job over and over again every day. Yeah, it's exciting. Um, and also comforting that like everyone else in the company is in exactly the same position. So there's not really a pressure. There's kind of a general understanding of like, yeah, no, this is chaotic. Please feel free to do this like on your own terms, at your own pace. And if you're stressed at all, please let us know and we can move deadlines. And I think it's just it's so positive and enriching. uh yeah, for something that's incredibly chaotic, it is one of the most, I'd say, wholesome environments to work in.
And to then flip this on its head, because I don't know how I would do it, and this is a cheeky question. How do you describe Vampire Survivors to someone who doesn't know what it is?
Uh, I love our tagline of be the bullet hell, because that's essentially what the game is. You are this one character um growing in size and in intensity um to basically mow down waves of enemies. You become what essentially is this unstoppable chaotic weapon that just absolutely destroys waves of enemies. And I think satisfaction is a good way to describe it. I was speaking to one of our games designers, Zach, who joined recently, and described Vampire Survivors as being this very almost naked experience, kind of in the same vein as like Pac-Man, where you go in, there's literally like two buttons of just walk and select, um and within seconds it's like you know what's going on. You go in, you attack automatically, enemies are coming, you gain gems from killing enemies, you level up, repeat. Like it's naked and it's authentic, and it kind of it knows confidently what it is. um yeah, I rambled on way too long, but yeah, in the short of it all, it's like you are the bullet hell at the end of the day.
And it is genuinely an amazing game. And most, I think, I'd say, surprisingly for listeners that don't know or some reason aren't interested, like you can play it on your phone for free. It's a couple of quid on consoles. Like you don't you're not missing out. You're not ruining anything by giving the game a go. That's wild.
Genuinely.
In like today's world, Jeremy bear me, we're recording this before it goes out, obviously, but like it just it's refreshing. It's refreshing to see a game that I think could easily charge double, triple what it is priced at, and I'd still buy it easy. You know what I mean? Which I suppose is a nice segue to in November of last year, e.g. now, yourselves launched a new merch line.
Yes, yeah, gosh. Yeah, I again, one of the chaotic things that just keeps popping up. Yeah, we released some merch with Fangamer. I actually have some of it here.
Oh, sneak video preview. Get on.
Got a sneak preview. But we do have some badges. Hold on one second. Let me try and get it out here.
I'm here.
If it
This
is.
is why I love doing this show. It's happening live. You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
great. We're doing it live. We're doing it all live. Um, Hold on one second. Uh, well, actually, I can show you. I put a lot of it on top of my bag. Is what I'm trying to say. So I'll have to show my bag, but you can kind of see here. Like we've got just a few pins.
oh yeah.
Um, of Vampire Survivors. I lost a lot of them. On the journey back up to Sheffield from London the other day.
Oh no.
um, but it's fine. One of them does spin. I think it's currently at the bottom of the bag. I'd need to go and get it again. But we also got a shirt as well, which I don't think it's on my wardrobe. I think it's currently in the wash. um, but yeah, no, we teamed up with Fangamer to get some merch, and it's I'm always very adamant about video game merch. As someone who kind of used to like excessively wear like graphic tees and hoodies and not really have like a kind of sense of fashion. um I'd say like um you want video game merch that would work well as a good bit of merch if people didn't know what the IP is.
Mhm.
I think we've kind of got that with Vampire Survivors. Like we have this really cool, almost like death metal esque shirt that even if you don't know what Vampire Survivors is, it still looks like a good shirt. Like it's a really good design. I mean, I'm wearing this. This is company merch, and it's very clearly company merch.
For listeners' benefit, it's a Poncle hoodie.
Yeah, it's very cute. I'm very happy with like the quality, but yeah, I like whenever I've talked about merch, I've always been like, oh, let's get some like varsity jackets. I love lazy devs and what they do.
Mm.
I think it's Aggro Crab that run that, and they did a crossover with Among Us. And you just have this really cool, interesting, almost like techware, that kind of has a video game adjacent vibe, and it's like it's fashion first and then video game secondary, and I think that's what I love about like high quality video game merch, and I think we've kind of done that here
Hmm.
with Vampire Survivors. I think you want something you can shout about. You want something cool. You don't just want the kind of logo splashed onto the front of a hoodie, which I mean, saying that wearing my Poncle hoodie right now is that. But yeah, more varsity shirts. I love what Radical Forge do actually. Big up Radical Forge. Because their branding is absolutely incredible. Harry Mitchell, who's the content specialist there and does a lot of graphic design work for them, genuinely one of my favorite like creators at the moment.
Hmm.
Not just because like he's a friend of mine, but also because like their merch is just it's the embodiment of cool. Like they do like skateboards and they do like these really cool bits of like merch. They did I think they had like temporary tattoos that they brought to develop, and it's just oh I love that so much. It's such a good vibe.
No, that's excellent. And I think okay, so I've got a couple more questions about this, then we can sort of like shift away from it. But do you play much Vampire Survivors yourself?
Outside of work, no. I like I think when you work solely on one video game, it becomes work at that point. Like whenever I play it, because I do capture for it on a regular basis. Whenever I play Vampire Survivors now, I'm always playing it with the mindset of, okay, how can I make this shot look good? How
Hmm.
can I make this capture look good? Even if I'm not recording, I still have that in the back of my mind, and it's like I can't really enjoy the game anymore. Um, and I feel that whenever I'm doing trailers for like other game content is like once it starts feeling like work, it's like okay, I gotta stop. like I'm only paid a certain amount of hours in the day.
Hmm.
It's a fantastic game. I love it. I think in terms of like cozy games that I'm playing instead of Vampire Survivors, like on my Steam Deck and stuff like that, like I love City Skylines. I'm a big city builder nerd. Same with like Civ. I play a butt ton of Civilization,
Hmm.
which is like it's just the ultimate like addicting cozy game. I find yeah, it's an interesting one. It's kind of a blessing and a curse. Like I get to play Vampire Survivors for work, but also whenever I play it now, I just kind of I have work in the back of my mind. And I'm just like, ugh, I just want to enjoy myself.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that sort of really ties into my next question of like when you're working on games, do you then find yourself able to enjoy games and its related content outside the work? I mean, you just touched on that
It
you're playing a few other things there.
it's very difficult, I find. And I've only had this recently, I'd say, since like joining I think it was towards like the end of my time at Sumo and joining Poncle this year. I haven't really been playing a lot of games this year. I've kind of there's a weird kind of uh not pressure, but there's a weird kind of lack of enjoyment when playing games now because I'm always viewing it from a work perspective at this point. Like I've been for ages trying to get through Baldur's Gate. And I'm like 40 hours in. I'm not even through Act 1 yet. And it's a great game and it's deserving of all of the accolades and all of the hype. But I feel like now whenever I play a game, I need to like be playing like a multiplayer game. I'm playing with people to kind of like fulfill that kind of social need as well
Mm.
as playing video game needs. Because whenever I'm playing a game by myself, and it's a single player game, there's always this weird expectation of like, okay, I need to try and find a way to make this feel productive. I guess.
It's genuinely difficult. I would joke that I read about games more than I play them, But there is that even when like you're playing through stuff that's completely unrelated to my actual work. It's like, oh, I'm still thinking about like, oh, like I find this really soothing, but it's not. What is it that I find satisfying about it? And like, you can't take the psychology out of the psychologist. You know what I mean? But there is definitely that element of processing in that way, which again, I like to think I'm a good host. What do you then do outside the work? What is it that you then use to relax?
I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I think because it's a very social game. And it's very much like it's a game that requires your full attention. Especially when you're a dungeon master, and you have to kind of maintain some level of concentration and have like things prepped and be able to listen and improvise off of other players. I used to do a lot of improv at uni, and one of the main rules of improv is listening, because you can only bounce off people you're improving with, if you're actually able to like listen to them properly, and kind of get what ideas they're going for, which you can yes and. So I play a lot of that. I'm currently DMing a game with a few games industry friends, Brim Richards, Lottie, their partner, um Harry Mitchell and his partner, and also a few friends from secondary school. And we're having an absolutely great time. It is extremely chaotic, but I love every second of that. And a lot of us are kind of like theater kids at heart, so we all try and like put a lot of effort into like role play and stuff like that. And it's always just an absolutely fantastic time, genuinely.
I freaking love D&D. There's a lot of D&D interwoven on the podcast. Particularly like therapists using D&D, like in its therapeutic values, which is awesome. I again, Jeremy bury me reasons, but during what month was it? October last year. Yes, I actually did like a streamed game, and I was a level 20 half elf bard called Dob Billin. And my arch nemesis was human Bob Dylan, who made an appearance in the game, and it was absolutely exquisite. Essentially, like imagine Matt Berry, but answering mostly with Bob Dylan lyrics to the answer to every question, or as in many ways as possible.
Oh, that's incredible. I think that's why I love D&D so much, is just because you're able to just have so much creativity without many limitations. And I'm trying out a bunch of different systems as well. That's kind of being that friends of mine are trying to convince me to do, like Kids on Bikes,
Mm-hmm.
uh what is it, other I think Thirsty Sword Lesbians I really want to play at some point.
Yeah.
There's some really good like non 5e systems that I really want to run, because again, like theater kid at heart, there's a lot more of a role play focused with some of them, which I'm just a massive fan of. Honestly, I just love being able to be given a situation, given a character, and just kind of go nuts with it, and just do what I feel is right or funny, like for the situation, and just keep like building and yes anding off each other. And it's like I feel like it's interesting that you brought up the therapy like point of view, because it definitely does feel like that at some point. I feel like you're able to explore so much about yourselves as not just characters but as humans, and your kind of relationships with everyone, and how you react to certain situations. It's such an interesting way of play that yeah, I find video games kind of um are difficult to compare to. I think also, actually, in saying that, Baldur's Gate is kind of the reason why I don't play a lot of 5e anymore, because that's kind of the perfect representation of what 5e could be, like as a video game. So whenever I play 5e now, I just keep comparing it to Baldur's Gate, and I'm like, I should try another system, something that's more, that's more fitting to being in person and talking to friends and doing that kind of thing.
I really enjoy the 2D20 system, used
Hmm.
in sort of like Dune and I think Star Trek. It's definitely more friendly to newcomers to TTRPGs because you're only ever rolling like two numbers together with 2D20s. Um, but like it has like a drive system, so like your character will have certain drives, and like that will help guide people to really lean into the role playing. Like they'll, well, logically I would want to do this, but my character is power hungry, so they're actually going to do this, which is really fun. And there's also a really cool sort of threat and momentum kind of currency market to it. So like, if the players want like an extra dice to win things in their favor, that gives me some points as a GM to screw with them later. Or if they roll well, they can bank points and stuff like that. It's a really like, I just don't think enough people have used the 2D20 system. I'm a really big fan of it, and I think more people should. I also just love June. Like I think 100 pages of the starter book is just lore, and I'm like, no, I've read the books twice. Like,
Great. I think I still have the book behind me somewhere. But yeah, it is a world that I just adore. Yeah, honestly, I need to play the tabletop system at some point. That sounds like a lot of fun.
it's really good, and I think like if you do know the world, you can have some proper fun with it. But yeah, so like yeah, big fan of TTRPGs generally. And I think you're right. Like if you can coordinate it, they are a great way to unwind in a way that is different to video games. I think that this is gonna sound daft. I have no evidence to back this up, but I almost feel like the hyper prevalence of video games, and particularly the way we talk about screen time, which is very sort of not good science. You know what I mean? I can say that as someone who does science. Um, but I think that's a big resurgence for why D&D and board games generally have kind of come back to the fold because people want like analog fun. Do you know what I mean? A board game where they can roll. I mean, I've a shelf with like little like bleachers of like dice because I love dice. There's something beautiful about handling dice and rolling them, and like the same things like cards. It's sure a digital thing that counts points and stuff is great, but holding cards and like drawing a card, oof, what a rush! You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's in the physicality that really just kind of, I don't know, it adds a whole nother layer. Like when someone's rolling a dice like on a table and you hear that clicking and clacking sound, and there's such a satisfaction to it. I mean, literally, like I pulled this out of my bag to show the pins, but for the audio listeners, like I did just bring out a
Bag of
proper
dice.
bag of dice, and it's just so satisfying to like hold this and just have, and yeah, just have that level of physicality to it. It's so satisfying. Yeah.
So I want to kind of maybe change track a little bit, but and you mentioned a few people there whom I know, made acquaintance of, luckily. But we actually met through Limit Break. If you can tell us a bit more about that, what that is for people that don't know, and that sort of business.
Yeah, definitely. So Limit Break is an initiative, it's a games industry initiative to give mentorship to people from marginalized groups within the games industry. So I've used it this year to learn more about brand management from the one of the global brand managers of Square Enix. And it's just a really great opportunity to network, meet peers, and just learn something more about yourself, your skills, skill sets that you might not have thought of. um, I've also been on the committee this year, so I've been doing the video content for Limit Break. I've done their intro and outro kind of like trailers, various social posts that they've put onto social media. And it's just been great, honestly. It's an initiative that's formed and run by some of the most talented, interesting, and friendly individuals in the games industry that I've ever met, really. And I absolutely fell in love with it, and I'll definitely be doing it next year, which I think is this year for Jerry Berry reasons. But it's genuinely I think by the time this podcast comes out, we'll be a few months away from putting in the next initiative of mentees and mentors. So yeah, if anyone here is listening and wants to be a mentor and help share their skills within the games industry, I think it's incredibly important. I'm gonna hopefully next year and this year, sorry, do mentorship for video editing, because there aren't a lot of video editors. I didn't see any video editors in 2023 do any kind of mentorship. And I think it's really important to fill those skills gaps and just kind of showcase that, yes, this is a role that is, important. It's essential, I think, for any social media community team. A video editing role is absolutely essential to sell your game in any manner. It's cheaper than going external. Yeah.
Hmm.
um yeah, I wanna make sure that people understand that it's a role that isn't just linked to film or TV or B2B marketing. There is this area for video editing within the games industry, and I also want to see a lot more people from marginalized backgrounds join this role, because it is unfortunately quite a white male dominated role that exists within the industry, which sucks. It's something I really really want to change, especially as kind of a queer person in the industry. I want to have more video editors from different backgrounds, because when you edit something, you're building off of your ideas and perspectives. And I feel like at the moment, those perspectives within the video editing sphere are very white male dominated. So I feel like there's a lot of opportunities where we can really kind of improve that workforce. And I feel like it's something that really means a lot to me. Really. So yeah, love Limit Break. It's amazing. I recommend everyone who has the opportunity to apply for it, go for it. And yeah, it's just been a great way to meet just some of the most talented and interesting folks within the games industry.
I'm also going to go on record as saying that I also love Limit Break. If you have an interest in video editing and you want to be mentored by Owen, you wouldn't be at a loss. You'd only gain knowledge, let me tell you. And I'm also just going to give a shout out to, you mentioned them before, like Bryn Richards. They were my mentor this year. Absolutely incredible. I school appropriately love Bryn as much as possible. And it was genuinely wonderful. I think to enter a space like Limit Break, that albeit is predominantly digital, but feel incredibly safe, I think is something that we don't put enough value on. And the fact that everyone else there is from a marginalized background really adds that emphasis and safety of, like, there are no silly questions. We're all here to help provide diversity to an industry that is not terribly diverse, and oh yeah, incredible. So yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
I also want to go back and, like, I'm going to apply to be a mentor. I don't necessarily know what I would mentor in, but I don't know, I like chatting to people. I think I can be, I can find information. I'm good at that. That's basically my job, you know.
Yeah,
And
I definitely see areas existing that could definitely, like, you know, um uh benefit from your skill set. So yeah, I'd love to see it.
so hopefully soon, when this goes out, we'll find out. Okay, so then going away from that, because let's be honest, being on a committee like that, that's a lot of additional work to put in. It's very clear that, like, your passion drives a lot of that. Um, what kind of other stuff do you kind of do that brings joy from? I'm kind of I'm teasing this question, Ali, because like I know I've seen you do a bit of photography work, and you go to conventions and stuff.
Yeah, this is it's a very recent thing for me, really. But I've recently joined the furry fandom, which wasn't on the cards for this year, but I've been adjacent for like quite a while, I'd say. Um and I've started meeting up with friends who are part of the community. I'm like, oh, you should come to one of the meets at some point, and genuinely it completely changed my perspective on the community. Which yeah, initially I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, it's a bit cringe. It's not really something that I see myself doing, and then you find what I found are just the friendliest, nicest, most welcoming people that I've ever met in my entire life. And with the photography side, like you mentioned, I think for me, it's a really great way for me to really expand that artistic and creative side of me that works outside of video editing. I don't normally get the chance to do any filming or photography within my job. It's always just we edit, we do video editing. But in doing photography and in kind of experimenting, I'm also able to like, choose shots better. I'm able to get an understanding of like what looks better in terms of frame composition whenever I'm building something in let's say After Effects. So at the end of the day, a lot of these skills do end up overlapping, and it's just a great way to like meet people, especially with like furries, because everyone, they've spent like thousands of pounds on these suits, and they absolutely love the idea of anyone taking pictures of them in suits. So it's a great way to just like meet people and introduce yourself and also like improve my skills. It's a win-win at the end of the day. Yeah, and I've also like as well as that be doing a bunch of cosplay stuff. I went to Comic-Con recently. I did my second cosplay as Tails. I did my first cosplay a couple months ago at a MegaCon in Manchester where I went as Eggman. Very
Nice,
very Sonic related.
nice.
um it's great. I love the idea of being able to like now just experiment with myself and how I look and how I present myself. I love having pictures taken of me. It's great. Being able to embody like certain characters, I think is just incredibly fun. I spend way too much money on art and stickers and pins. But it is, I don't know. I just love the idea of like supporting artists and kind of living within that general space. I think it's just incredibly wholesome. It's incredibly creative. It inspires me on a regular basis as a creative, on how I can better my work and how I can kind of improve my standards, really.
I also am gonna use this opportunity to just give a quick shout out, as I actually got a commission done recently by Hannah, the artist,
Oh,
just Hannah,
really?
yeah, just had a really like because you tweeted about them and were like, oh yeah, like they are amazing. I was like, actually, I need some new content made. So they did like a whole bunch of stuff for me, and it is incredible,
Amazing. I love,
incredible.
yeah. Hannah's work is fantastic, genuinely. We went to school together. And then I think we kind of like lost contact and then regained contact because she does a lot of D&D commissions for me, and a lot of like general like profile picture art, and she also helped with like my Sona and stuff like that. No, she is honestly just an absolutely fantastic artist. Yeah, I'm glad that you chose her. Yeah, she is she's
It,
great,
I mean,
genuinely.
they might be sort of like out in the world by the time this goes out. I'll give you a sneak peek afterwards if you want. But like, just like genuinely, I saw the initial sketches and was like, wow, you have captured exactly what I wanted so effortlessly. And then watching them sort of come to life, like, wow, yeah, brilliant.
It's so talented, honestly. Yeah, we love to see it, genuinely. I love supporting artists. It's such a wholesome experience.
It really is, and like it's it's such good work, and I sit back in awe because I couldn't do that for to save my life. You know what I mean? I had like pencil shade, like I can draw you a nice apple, but that's about it. Um, I kind of want to go into a little bit. You touched on it there, and like I know you also have like a YouTube channel that you do content for, and you've spoken a bit around this sort of stuff on Twitter recently. But I'd love to kind of hear a bit more about that from yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So I try and do video essays when I have the time. And I think the biggest project that I worked on this year was about my weight loss journey. I've lost since 2020 about 95 pounds. I reached my weight goal by the time this comes out. Yeah, like mid November 2023.
Hmm.
Um and it's been quite a magnificent journey for me. I've always suffered with weight issues from, I want to say, when I was in secondary school onwards. Um and I wanted to kind of take that opportunity to creatively use my editing skills with this video essay to talk in detail about not just like my weight loss, but also trauma that I've associated with my weight loss, with experiences that I've had in the past about how people have reacted to my weight. I had quite a bad run in with a YouTube prankster, which kind of was picked up by a larger YouTuber, and that kind of discouraged me for quite a long while in terms of body confidence and stuff like that. But now I'm in a position where I think going back to like cosplay and stuff, I feel more confident in my body. I feel like I'm able to, uh, you know, I'm able to feel confident in myself and allow myself to enjoy those that kind of that self-love that I feel like I didn't really have for quite a few years. So yeah, it's been a great journey. It's been lengthy. It's been about 3 years, but I still have quite a bit more to go. I need to try and get rid of a bunch of like stomach pudge,
Hmm.
but that's for like down the line. I'm happy where I am now. I'm still gonna be happy no matter if I still weigh this the same way in the next few years. Yeah, it's been a good journey.
I will say, I watched the video essay, and like I very much resonated with it. I feel like I myself had been on like a similar sort of journey, like sort of through 16 to 18, and then I was like, didn't feel very confident, and then it was like only when, for me, it was like when I was in uni, and like I could go to the gym because I had the time, like that was the thing to do, and then I sort of got to a point and I was happy, and then, life then hits you fast, and then you can't go to the gym as much and things like that. And like, let me tell you, doing a PhD is not good for your mental or physical health, generally speaking. So yeah, I very much like resonated with it, and then I'm gonna say shocked. That's maybe not the best word, but learning about like the social media debacle that you suddenly found yourself entrenched in, like, was wild. Like I honestly, was flabbergasted, and I think if you'd allow me to say, I think you dealt with that incredibly well, and then to have then been able to so eloquently put together a video essay on it, is incredible. And I think it's more people should have those types of discussions. I think. So it was very very powerful in that regard, and I speak for myself, but I think the more, and I do a lot of stuff like in the mental health space, but the more we talk around these type of things, um, the more, we can help change attitudes and reduce stigma.
Yeah, 100%. I think the more that we have open and honest conversations about these topics, I think just makes it even more important. I think it from even just from an educational side, it's just so incredibly important to make sure that these topics are out there in in the open. I talk a lot about in my video essay how you can be both obese and healthy. I truly firmly believe that. I unfortunately was just very obese and very unhealthy. Um, but everyone is different in terms of body type. Everyone is different in terms of metabolism, and not everyone is going to be able to have the same, I'd say, reaction that I did, I guess, with exercise and counting calories. Also, taking into account disability, chronic illness. These are factors that play such an important role. um and I think that the only damage that we can do to ourselves is by living in that kind of ignorance, and by not talking about it, because in being out there and in the open, that's the only way that we're going to be able to get the help that we need. Yeah, for these topics, really.
I think it's really interesting as well because I mean I don't tend to do that, like mention, like make a pop culture reference, like a news reference. But I remember at the time recording, like I think it was Billie Eilish had received some heat in the press for talking about like oh, if you're like, masculine presenting, it must be so easy, you don't have to worry about body image. um and you know there are obviously issues, people who are femme presenting with body image, 100% acknowledge that, respect that, but like that fundamentally in my experience is not true. I as someone who's, masculine presenting, my pronouns are he, him. You know, as partly because I'm albino, but I get called Santa. You know what I mean? So I'm very then hyper aware of how my weight presents in clothes. Things like that. And I think it's a discussion that, like, it's very easy to turn it into a what about men kind of discussion, but like truly, like, it requires a bit more nuance than that. And I think, yeah, just seeing someone like yourself talk about that, I think it's just so important.
Yeah, definitely. I think this issue is not to call it an issue. I'd say that this topic is very universal. In terms of myself and accepting uh what is a more non-binary side of myself. I still have this very masculine presenting way about myself, but I also do try and invoke some kind of femininity in the way that I look, and the way that I wear nail polish and foundation on a regular basis. Mostly because not even from a feminine point of view, but from a way of I just think I look good with these factors. Assigning this general idea that, like, oh, all mask presenting people don't have to worry about like how they look. I think it's quite a broad and damaging statement, really.
Mm.
I think at the end of the day, um I for the longest time, up until university, I was very mask presenting. I did weigh a lot. I didn't have any body confidence whatsoever. um and now I think I'm lucky that I'm in a position where I do feel confident about myself, and I am able to present myself more in a light um where I'm happy. A lot of men don't have that kind of education, or that kind of way of talking about how they look, how they present themselves. For a long time, I had no idea. Like, I wanted to get into wearing makeup, but I had no idea where to even start. And those conversations don't ever really happen within male dominated spaces.
I feel like I
um
should also say, like, obviously, this is because the issue is treated in the binary, right, which is
mm,
incredibly a problem for anyone who operates in the non-binary space as well. Just the precursor, I was sort of referring to myself previously, and also no heat to Billie Eilish. I don't want the internet to get on my case.
no, definitely. Yeah, I think yeah, to be clear, yeah, it's worth mentioning that binary, and saying that um again, I'm very much a firm believer that the gender itself is very much a spectrum. And we like I think that I fall on kind of a more, I don't know, like if there was a kind of like mask on one side, femme on one side, and then there was a middle ground, I'm very much like in that middle, maybe a little bit towards mask
Hmm.
in a way. But it's uh I like one thing. My housemate is trans. I'm gonna ramble on for a bit now.
Go
But
for it.
my housemate is trans femme. She also works at sumo. Or she work when I worked at sumo, she works at sumo. Uh, and she helped me understand and grow and kind of learn more about these kind of ways that I can present myself in more of a feminine way. Like she took me to Boots one day and we picked my like skin tone for like foundation and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, if I didn't have that that person to help teach me and kind of open that door, you know, I might not be as confident about myself and how I look as I do now. Um so I think, you know, going back to what you said previously about having that open line of conversation, um I think you know that it's worth having these discussions instead of kind of living in this general I guess denial of you know, like men wearing makeup or you know, being like or even just the standard things of looking after yourself and how you look. um you know, because I think everyone is deserving of feeling confident in their own body. Everyone's deserving of looking in the mirror and feeling good about themselves. So yeah, I think in having these conversations, though that I find it's incredibly important to kind of make sure that these topics are kind of discussed more and out in the open.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, everyone has a right to be happy. Like everyone should be
Mm.
able to be who they are and be safe and be cherished and be celebrated and know that they can be who they are. And I also just want to go on record and say, when I've seen you in the offline world, you look incredibly fly. So you know what I mean. So I'm just gonna put that out there, like, and I think, yeah, as I say, just there's not enough dialogue, and I think it's really almost easy when, and I'm relating this back to you doing a video about it. You when you are surrounded by a very inclusive community, you can kind of forget how uninclusive the rest of the world is, you know. So like even then again, like I can only provide plaudits of then actually going out there and chucking that at everyone else on the internet is so vital. I just I really resonated with it, as I say.
Like, I think we're lucky that the games industry is so accepting, and so transparent. I like all that I've met when working here for the past 3 years is just this level of transparency and friendliness and kind of welcomeness, I guess, to be yourself, you know, just unabashedly. And I love that. You know, I think that's why for me, I don't think I'll ever move industries unless I don't know, I had this magical opportunity to work on the next I don't know, big fantasy show. um
Would you take the
but
D&D movie part 2?
oh my gosh, I'd do anything. Oh, I would do anything to work on the D&D movie. That would be great. um but yeah, it's interesting. I love this industry so much. Great.
Would you ever be interested in like doing maybe it's more production, but like video editing for like a TTRPG actual play or something like that?
Um Gosh, that's a tough one.
Because again, I
What?
don't know if that would then lead to like too much of like fun being work and that like intersecting too much.
Yeah, I'd say like I don't know if it would seem kind of like a chore at the end of the day, or if my mind would kind of shift in that way. I told myself when I was doing TV or when I picked TV production, there was always this thing in the back of my mind of like, why didn't I choose games as a course? And I think the main reason was I would hate for my hobby to turn into work. Um and it kind of has become that, but also I still love games. I still love playing games. I still love uh, you know, trying to keep myself updated with all of the latest indie titles. I still get so much more of an emotional reaction to playing video games than I do watching TV and film.
Hmm.
Maybe not film as much. I love watching film. I'm a huge film nerd at heart. Uh yeah, it's I've kind of lost what the question was. Sorry. I've
I,
rambled on a
I
lot.
don't think there really what was a question in a sense. It was just like, oh, wouldn't that be fun? And then we kind of went on. But
Yeah.
that's why I love doing this podcast. It's so nice to just chat with people and have great conversations. And I'm gonna ask one of my favorite questions, sort of like you're scripted, if you will. But if you had no limitations, you had access to time, expertise, resources, money, what would be your big blue sky project?
Oh gosh. If I had like unlimited resources, I I don't know, I've always liked the idea. I love being in front of camera. I like saying like I'm kind of a drama I'm a theater kid at heart. I love being in front of camera. I'd love to kind of do something that's akin to the Game Awards, but for video game trailers.
The video game
I'd
trailer
love,
awards.
yeah, like the video game trailer awards. I think that would be really really cool to have. This kind of, because in my mind, video game trailers is an art form. It's a very new art form, and the way that video game trailers have shifted in terms of format is very very recent. I'm talking like the last 5 years. So being able to have a place to really cherish and appreciate those kind of works of art, I think that would be important to me as a creator. So yeah, unlimited time and money, I would set up probably the video game trailer awards show,
Do you know what?
become the
Like,
next Jeff Keighley.
I'd watch that though. Like that's because I feel like some people watch the Game Awards for the trailers, right? Like you'd be giving them what they want, but like actually
Yeah.
giving a huge level of recognition to the people making them. No, that's a great idea. I love that. My second question, also my joint favorite, because it's my podcast, I can do what I like. Is there anyone that you would like to give a shout out to who maybe you feel doesn't necessarily get the recognition that you think they deserve, or someone who's inspired you on your journey?
Gosh. Yeah, I'd say the two people who really made me who I am today is Harry Mitchell from Radical Forge, the content specialist, and Daniel Partis, who is the, I believe she's the, yeah, she's editorial for Xbox Wire. And they're my two, they're great friends. We met each other on a TeamSpeak server back in, like, I want to say 2015, 2016,
Oof.
moderating for this YouTuber called Nerdcubed. And all three of us kind of collaboratively joined the industry together. And I think I mean they're both very much appreciated for the work that they do. Danielle especially, I think what she does in the industry as a journalist and as a writer and an editor is absolutely fantastic. And Harry as well is genuinely one of the best and most creative people I know. Yeah, I think, any recognition for like just people in the industry who care and matter and put in just the best amount of work. yeah, I think in my opinion goes towards those two.
I just like I've not had an answer to that question that hasn't been incredibly wholesome and filled my heart with joy, and that's another one of them. I like, I just love doing this show, man. It's so daft, but like I just love it. So let's have some fun. We talked about a lot of really great stuff in some depth, but let's have some fun before we wrap up. You are going to a biodome of your choice, because I wouldn't go to Desert Island personally, and you are going to take with you a film, an album, a book, and a game. You can take anything if it's in a collection. You can have a TV show box set instead of a film. If it comes as a collection or if it's a Spotify playlist, you can have that. Why not? I'm generous. But what are you taking with you and why?
Gosh. Film. I'm a huge film nerd. One of my favorite films of all time, that I definitely bring is Fantastic Mr. Fox by Wes Anderson. I think I tweeted about this recently, but I make it a tradition to watch it every autumn because it is just the perfect autumn film, and it's like the embodiment of a warm hug, like within film. I love the stop motion. I love the heart and the passion and the soundtrack and everything. It is, in my opinion, just an absolutely perfect piece of art. That just lifts my spirits every single time that I watch it. Um, gosh, album. That's a tough one. I think I love M83's "Hurry Up with Dreaming," which is this kind of like shoegaze, like synth, like kind of almost classical uh album. Um, it has like Midnight City, outro, intro, um, and it has some of the most epic, most, I'd say, extravagant soundscapes that I've ever heard recorded to music. That every time I listen through, I feel just this complete catharsis that I don't think any other piece of media has really done
Mm-hmm.
to me. Um, Books wise, I'm gonna say Dune just because it's big and long and
Nice.
lengthy, and there's just a lot to it. If I can get like the Dune trilogy, that's definitely a lot to keep me occupied for a bit. Um, a video game. Uh, I love Terraria. I have way too many hours in Terraria. It is, I'd say, just the perfect survival game. It's mindlessly addicting. There's so much content to it, and it feels different each time. I love it so much, and I always kind of have bouts where, I feel like, oh, I need to play Terraria again, and I play it again, and I end up playing it in full, and I think I end up having, I think I have like 500 plus or something hours in it. It's fantastic. I love Terraria so much.
I think
Yeah.
I'm always surprised by like the tact people take with that one, because they're always like a game that they know is long and haven't yet finished, a game they know they could replay endlessly, or like a game that like, yeah, I'll play that. Like, just like I'll give it a go, see what happens. There were some excellent choices. What biodome would you go for though?
Biodome. Something solar punk, you know.
Ooh,
Um just love that whole aesthetic, lots of greenery, maybe like a running waterfall. Uh something that kind of, you open your eyes and you feel like you're someplace that's like good. uh yeah.
yeah, so like almost like truly utopian.
Yeah. Getting like there's that place in Cornwall, I forgot the name, the Eden Project. Kind of getting those vibes, you know.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up, I always like to turn the tables upon myself and ask, is there a question you'd like to ask me? Now, I've had the whole how your PhD is going. Please don't ask me that. And what I would answer to the previous question on the quickfire. But anything else, basically fair game.
Amazing. I'm gonna ask. This is one thing that I ask all of my interviewees whenever I do like a levels test.
Hmm.
Whenever I'm recording some bit of footage. Because it always knocks people off. But what's something that you love about yourself?
That is an excellent question, and I can see why that floors a lot of people because people are not often very good at celebrating themselves. What do I love about myself? I think um, I really enjoy my dry sense of humor. Like I will make really dark and inappropriate jokes at the most inappropriate times, but I think it lends itself to a this is a really tense and heavy situation, guys. Let's like have a laugh, um, like if you don't laugh, you cry, and I feel like you can take so much from like a really good comedic beat. Doesn't always work out, but I've shot myself in the foot a fair few times with it. But I think just like the fact that you know even with like an attitude of dry toast, I can try and bring something funny and silly about it. It might often be self-deprecating, but injecting a bit of humor, I think, is just always nice. Um, yeah, I think I also like. I'm gonna say something I've developed recently, and I remember doing it specifically like at Limit Break, the opening ceremony, but just being like, remember, like my ability to remind myself that everyone is a person, because you can see people and be like, oh my god, like this is so and so, like wow, this, you know what I mean, and being like intimidated by that, but like just being like, the people. Walk up to someone and say, hi, how's it going? How's your night going? Like, have you chatted to anyone cool yet? You know what I mean? And being able to sort of do that and like almost like high five myself after, like, you just had a conversation. Look at you go.
That's an excellent answer. Yeah. No, I love that.
It's I don't know. I'm a daft guy. I like to chat a lot of mints. I mean, that's why I'm literally doing a podcast. you know, but I just think yeah, like people are so fascinating. That's why I did psychology in the first place. So I just love learning about people, speaking with them. On that note, though, we are wrapping up now. Where is the best place for people to find you on the internet, presuming it hasn't exploded by the time this goes out?
Yeah, gosh. Well, on socials, I'm at Owen underscore Trett. If that's on X, if X still exists by this point. If not, I am on Blue Sky, at perky.bluesky.social. Um, I'm also on Instagram, Owen.Trett. Basically, if you just type Owen Trett into any kind of web browser, I should turn up
Just you'll
somewhere,
appear somewhere.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
definitely.
those links for Owen will be attached to whatever you've found this episode.
Wonderful. And yeah, follow Vampire Survivors if you want to see some cool trailer content.
Does that include your feet in the trailer?
Possibly, maybe. I can't confirm that.
I knew I had to mention it at some point, and I want to go out on a high. You know what I mean? Thank you so much for
Amazing.
joining me, Owen. This has been a great chat. I hope you've taken from it as much as I have. My cup is filled and will be filled for several days now. So all that remains for me to say is say goodbye to everyone listening. Goodbye to yourself, Owen. And otherwise, as we always say in the show, look after your mind, body, and soul. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.
Bye.